Hey Sparkers, so today I'm going to do a walkthrough of updating the firmware for your Spark amp from a Windows computer. So this process is slightly different for Windows versus Mac, but not overly so. So this may help you with the Mac as well, but there's actually one extra step on the Windows that you don't need on the Mac. But at a very high level, there's just a few major or main steps. The first is getting the driver that allows your computer to be able to sort of see or talk to the amp. Mm-hmm. And then there's the software that actually does the firmware update. That's kind of sits on top of the driver. And then there's the process to actually download the new firmware, and then finally to apply it to your amp. So those are the high level steps, but I'll walk you through each of those real quick here. So the first thing I'll do is open a web browser. I use Google Chrome, but you can use whatever browser you like. And I'm going to do Spark Amp Firmware Update. It's just the easiest way to sort of find it. This first page that comes up is the one you're going to want. And this brings you to Positive Grid's How to Update the Firmware on Spark. And so this actually walks you through all the steps that I'm going to be walking you through in this video here, but it's a little hard to follow, or it can be. It's not, so that's why I made this video, right? So anyway, here's the first step. Go ahead and click on this driver, and what this does is it brings you to this page, which then allows you to download. You click on that Spark ASIO driver, and this will allow you to download what's called a zip file. And a zip file, all that means is it's a compressed file, and you need a separate program to be able to open that. Most computers have software that can open zip files, but if yours doesn't, you can just go get one for free. There's one called 7-Zip that I use. There's a couple others out there. Google Drive actually has one that they have integrated with it called Zip Extractor. So if you have Google Drive and you use that, you could do it that way too. But I'll just go ahead and download this. And in your browser, it may be a little different. In Firefox, it's a little different. Edge is a little different. But I'm just going to download this guy here. And once that downloads, it'll be down here. And I'm going to open this. This is going to launch my zip program. And I'll just go ahead and say open. Again, I use 7-Zip. And this is the window here that it brings up, and it has both the Mac OS X version and the Windows version. So I'm just going to double click on this .exe file. It's the Windows version, and in my case I have to specify my username and password for admin access, but hopefully you don't have to do that. So that is going to launch, and it brings up this little window here. This is the Welcome to Positive Grid USB audio device driver setup. So just go ahead and click through this, next, then install. This will take a couple of seconds to run through here. And once this is done, I'll be able to connect to the amp. So that's done. I'll hit next and finish. It says to complete, you must disconnect and reconnect your device. So I haven't actually connected that device yet, but I'll just say yes to doing it later. So I'm going to pause the video for now, and I will start the process to connect my amp now. Actually, before that, we're going to go back to this page, the firmware update page, and then we're going to scroll down to the bottom to actually download the firmware updater software. So that's all the way down here. This is the Windows version. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it's going to download another piece of software. We'll go ahead and launch this one. This one doesn't actually require the zip application to work. It'll just be able to launch. So let's see, let's do open. It should be opening now. Here it is. And so it looks a little like this. I'll minimize these so you can see it a little bit easier. So that's it. Now the software is downloaded and installed to connect the amp. So the next step in the process here is to just go ahead and connect the amp. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to turn on my amp, and then I'm going to connect the USB cable, but I'll show you that as well. All right, so here's my amp. First thing you're going to want to do is turn it on. I'm not going to do a how-to for that, but then you're going to go to the back of the amp here. Sorry if this is a little hard to see. Zoom out a little bit there. So right next to the power there is a USB port. So you're going to connect the cable they gave you to that port there. So that's connected, and then the other side of that cable goes into your computer, just like that. And now my computer is trying to see the device, and that just popped away. So that means it recognized it. That means that driver install worked earlier. And then we're going to go ahead and go to, oh, sorry, that's loud. Connect hardware. Sorry, do that again. So there, it detected the hardware, and if I wanted to disconnect it for whatever reason, you could do that here by clicking eject. But let's just go ahead and do check to update. That's the next step here. I'm running 1.2.3.37 at the moment, so it's now going to check to see if there's an updated version. It's doing that now. All right, so I had to pause for a second there. The app just kind of crashed and closed on me. But what I did, I had to pause the video to figure out what was going on there. But basically what I did was I turned off the amp and I turned it back on, and then I relaunched that Spark firmware updater software, and then it connected to it. So we're back to the same space. So I'm going to click on check to update. That's one thing you can try, by the way, if you have a little trouble at this stage, is just sort of restart your amp and then relaunch this firmware updater software. And so now it's switched to updating, which is a good sign. Now another thing we didn't do, and I'll walk you, I've already done a walkthrough for this, which is why I didn't do it, but there's a way to sort of save your tones to Tone Cloud, just in case there's a problem with your app when you reconnect it. They suggest you do that. But anyways, I've already walked you through that, so I'm not going to do that again here. But as you can see, it completed that process, but my firmware is already up to date. If it wasn't, it would actually start that update process there, and you should be good to go. So thanks. Sorry for the longer video than usual, but this process has a few steps involved. So anyway, hope everyone got some value out of this. Thanks. Bye.